Hello, everyone. Good morning, good evening from wherever you are. Welcome to another day of the Berkshire High Peaks Festival. You guys are in for an excellent treat. We have an orchestral excerpt class, and we are featuring 3 students from 3 different countries all around the world. So I will get to that in a brief moment, but I wanted to tell you a bit about our festival. The Berkshire's High Peaks Festival is brought to you by Close Encounters with Music. And my name is Carolyn Regula, and I will be your host today for this event and the following events of the festival. So we would like to encourage you to please consider supporting Close Encounters with Music and our ongoing festival. Our mission is to engage the imagination of diverse concert audiences, to connect listeners to performers and composers, and foster the excitement and sense of community that we get from live performance, to establish a comfortable listening environment, and to turn performances into enriching and educational experiences. So I will be including a donation link in the chat window below. And you can use this chat to talk amongst yourselves during the masterclass today. If you have a question for our guest cellist, you can put those in the Q&A window at the bottom of your screen. In addition to working with our students, our guest cellist Diego is going to be talking about audition prep, what it's like auditioning for an orchestra, all sorts of things. So you can ask questions about that as well if you want to hear about some tips, advice, things like that. And a little bit about our cellist today. I am so excited to introduce you all to Diego Fainguersch. He is the principal cellist of the Buenos Aires Philharmonic. So it's quite a treat that we have a principal cellist here today to instruct our students. And for our student performers, we have Sieun Baek, who is in South Korea. We have Christen, who is joining us from the US, and Verena Díaz, who is joining us from Argentina. So thank you all so much for joining us, and a special thank you to fellow cellist Do-hyung Kim for doing translations for Sieun. Having you here is incredible and allows this to be possible for all of us. So I am going to turn things over to Diego, and I hope you enjoy today's class.
Thank you, Caroline. It's great to be here. So should we start with Sieun? What are you gonna play today?
I'm gonna play Debussy Rommel and Strauss.
Ein Händel Leben.
Right. Good. Great, very nice, beautiful job. Really, really nice playing. So the beginning, do you wanna, you have the first, what is it, piano or pianissimo?
Piano.
Piano. And the second is mezzo forte?
No. For
3매절.
The,
마지막 거기 메조
the
포르테.
first,
Yes,
the
yes.
first one
you
is
are right.
piano and the second mezzo forte. Can you have a different attack of the note besides the dynamic? Yeah, besides the volume, maybe have so the wa and the second more from the beginning. Yeah. Great. Very nice. So how do you attack that?
그러니까 시도 할 때 조금 더 가면 좋을 것 같고요. 처음 게 작잖아요. 그러니까 그거 조금 더 작게. 그래서 좀 핑거보드 위에서 해도 좋을 것 같아요.
Thank you. Great. Very nice, but maybe without an accent. Yeah, no, but just more relaxed. Very nice, and maybe then it's la mer. You can maybe imagine waves, so you can start already so a little, not a straight line, but maybe little by little getting bigger waves. Yeah. Can you take Really nice. Can you make more diminuendo from there? And yeah.
네 마디예요. 작아지는 거 있잖아요. 그 다음에 피아니시모로 시작하잖아요. 그거를 조금 더 해요. 네. 거기 지금도 안 했어요.
아, 그래?
A little calmer when you arrive, and then you start building again.
She understood, and then she was trying, and then she said, "Oh no!" But, yeah, she knows it.
Very nice. Now, can you add a little vibrato or for the? Great, very nice. Now, can you do a little more of the mezzo forte and the sforzando?
메조 포르테 다음에 스포르잔도잖아요. 스포르잔도가 조금 더 나와야 된다고.
Think of the waves. Yeah, a little more.
그래서 이거 활 선생님 보면 다 쓰지 말고 조금 그 위에 쪽 활 부분을 사용하는 게 좀 쉽고 파도처럼 이렇게 치는 것처럼 지금 너무 건강한 소리만 나서 활을 선생님이 지금 보여주셨을 때 위쪽에서 쓰신 거 봤죠? 중간에서 위쪽.
아, 여기 위쪽?
응. Because you showed us.
Wait, the quality of the sound on the that instead of not tense,
소리가 지금 조금 쪼여져 있는 것 같은데 이걸 좀 풀었으면 좋겠어요.
제가 근데 여기 손가락 번호가 3번, 2번으로 하고 있거든요. 라솔, 라솔 그 부분. 근데 이게 맞아요?
She has a question about AG that she's doing 3 and 2 for AG. Is
Yeah.
it good finger?
I-
She's asking.
If you that's a very good question. If you can make it sound beautiful, it's a great fingering. If it doesn't sound good, then it's not really good. So
그래서
I do 2-1 because my third finger, I don't feel that this. I don't feel that comfortable with that. I feel better with 2-1. So I do 1. Yeah.
소를 1번으로 올라간 다음에 라를 2번으로.
But really, I think fingerings are very personal, and even though some things really maybe are not good fingerings, but most of it depends on how you make it sound. So if it sounds good for you, you can play it in tune, nice vibrato, then it's a good fingering. Do you want to try once more and try really to make more of a diminuendo? And start from nothing. It's yeah. Let's try something, which I think it's really important for excerpts. Let's take the tempo down quite a bit and play it slowly, but try to add as many of the details as you can.
조금 느리게 하는데 지금 네. 디테일한 거 신경 쓰는. 피아노가 너무 커요.
Okay. I mean, quite a bit slower.
더 느리게.
Wait. Let's work up until there, and then we'll work from there to the end, right? Now at this tempo, you really can make a better vibrato, right? You could eventually play a nicer vibrato. Yeah, that's why we are playing it slower.
느리게 하니까 비브라토에 조금 더 잘할 수 있잖아요. 템포가 느려지니까. 그래서 비브라토도 좀 생각하고 다이내믹도 조금 생각하고.
Very good. Now, could you make it even more beautiful and more of the dynamics? Exaggerate the esforzandos, yeah?
해줄까요?
So maybe from here. Very good. Maybe we take a few minutes to talk about something, and then we continue with this. I think it's very important to practice slowly, but really slowly, not just a little bit slower, because you are trying to practice slowly to be able to do everything you need to do. Yeah, if you play just a little bit slower, it's probably gonna be about the same way, just a little bit slower. And yeah, you might be able to play a few more notes or add a few more details, but you are not gonna be able to do everything that you want. Whereas if you play much slower, I'm talking about like maybe half the tempo or even slower than that, any tempo that you can find that works for you and allows you to play everything the way you want it, the vibrato, the sound. Of course, with the dynamics, sometimes we'll have to adjust the volume because you cannot play 3 times slower at the same volume using the same slurs, right? So you adjust the volume as you need, but you really think of playing all the details as the best you can. So you would maybe think of the attack, that, and then the preparation for the sforzando. It's not sforzando, right? It's a
Sforzando.
forte piano or mezzo forte piano.
Sforzando and piano.
Okay. Yeah, and then maybe control this very long with the horns. Yeah, and then the other one. But think of everything: the vibrato, the phrasing, the phrasing within the bow. Yeah, if you do, I'm not doing. It's not a straight line. You know, there are little fluctuations in the bow, so you can really work on that very slowly. And then when you find the tempo where you can do everything you want, then you can start building up the tempo, and it's gonna be much easier than trying in tempo. Yeah, right. So that's one part of the excerpt. What really is very hard in this excerpt, I find, is intonation, because when you play this, the cello quartet, it's really hard to play it in tune, and usually because you have 4 parts, in a typical orchestra you are maybe from 8 to 12 celli, so you would typically be playing 2 people per voice, and that's really hard to tune, to play in tune. Yeah, to playing 2 people the same voice. If you were 3, it would be a little easier. If you were 1 person, that would also be a little easier too, but that's really hard. On top of that, this is a really hard piece to play in tune. The key, all the flats. So I would make sure that this part, all that, you really work on intonation to be as solid as you can. Yeah. Can you play from there?
거기 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 시, 솔, 시 거기서부터 하면 되고 거기서 음정하고 지금까지 설명해준 게 어떻게 연습하라고 이해한 것 같은데 빨리 말하면 느리게 연습하면서 온갖 디테일에 대해서 하고 계속 지금 레슨 때부터 말씀하시는 건 약간 노트 방향을 따라서 움직여야지 되게 이렇게 평평하게 음악이 흘러가는 게 아니잖아요. 그래서 좀 그거 생각하면서 하면 좋아요. So I summarized what you just
Great.
told her.
It's more efficient. You are much more efficient.
No. Thank you.
거기
Um,
시솔실에 거기
Yes, yes.
Great. Try to. It's pretty good, the intonation. Really, I would focus a lot on intonation to make it super solid. Usually, when you play this in the orchestra, it's very common that it goes well, and then one time it doesn't, and because one of the 12 people played a little out of tune, and it's a pity when that happens. So you want to be as solid as you can intonation wise. The rhythm here, it's not quite exact, and you are playing quite vertical instead of the same as the yeah. Can you from there once more? Very good. And one last thing that it's usually a little trap that we all fell into at some point. Make sure that you do a crescendo through the D flat. Yeah, the crescendo keeps going. It's not.
레에서 작아지는
And then diminuendo.
레 플랫에서 작아지지 말고 커졌다가 그 다음에 디미니엔도 써진 데부터 가야 돼.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I think I said D flat. It's through the E flat, I believe,
Yeah.
to the next D flat. Yeah. But
또 레미도 레까지. 시솔시 레미도 레시도 라시 라. Right?
여기까지 유지.
거기까지 유지. 지금 네.
Good.
Maybe she can try once more, and then if it's not right.
Sure.
한번 하면 되는 건가요?
네, 해주세요. So the diminuendo is not sooner, you think?
I'm sorry?
The diminuendo. She tried to really sustain it, right?
Right.
Flat, and then.
Do you want to try something? Why don't you stop on the D flat where the diminuendo starts? So and really go to that D. Yeah?
그 레미도레까지 간 다음에 이제 점점 디미니엔도가 돼야 되는데 디미니엔도가 안 돼요. 레미도레까지 간 다음에 디미니엔도.
That was much better. To practice it, maybe it's a good idea. What I was asking you was to stop on the D. Excuse me. And just that. So you can practice really focus on the difficult part of that excerpt, or that excerpt within the excerpt. Yeah. So in other words, the excerpts are so short but so hard that if every time you just play the whole thing, it's really hard to improve it. Whereas if you just focus on the difficulty of that particular measure, maybe it would be much more efficient and you would get much better results.
되게 짧긴 한데 어렵잖아요. 그래서 여기 부분이 솔직히 제 여기 웹소에서 어려우니까 이거를 시간을 여기에 많이 투자하면서 그렇게 하면 좋은 결과도 있을 거라고. 그러면서 아까 말씀하셨던 게 내가 말해볼 시솔시 레미도 레까지 하고 멈춰보라고 했었어요. 근데 그걸 내가 빼뜨렸는데 그렇게 연습을 해보면 좋을 것 같아요. 거기까지 소리를 끝까지 이끌고 가고 그 다음에 작아지는 거.
그 레미도레까지가
네.
Doyang, I don't have the music in front of me. That's where the diminuendo starts, right? I'm not.
I have a diminuendo marking where it's re, mi, do, re, si, do, A flat. La.
Okay, great. So maybe you would play until, right, it's a little later. But at least you should get to that D,
Yeah.
right? It's
Yeah.
the typical mistake would be to play the diminuendo before, and
Yeah.
that would be bad for an audition.
그래서 여기 적혀 있는 대로 해야 되는데 아까 거기서 이제 그 크게 안 하고 빨리 작아져가지고 선생님이 그거 말씀해 주신 거라. 네.
Great, very good, really good. Should we listen to the Strauss?
아,
Do you have any questions?
질문 있어요?
no.
No.
I understand. Yes.
Great. Great, very good, very good. Usually, when you play it for an audition, you would also include the three pitches that are. And then you
오디션
stop.
할때 피치카토 거기까지 하는 거.
아,
If they ask for the first excerpt, that's where you would stop. It's really nice, very nice. Good job on those shifts. What's the character you wanna give to this?
여기에서 캐릭터 어떤 걸로 생각해요?
그 용맹한
So she knows that 용맹한 in Korea, in
영웅
English.
같은
So hero, heroic.
Hero, right? It's in the title, right? Like it's heroic.
Sure.
That's obviously it's a very good answer, but I would go for a like majestic hero instead of like a warrior hero. I wouldn't go for a like a really aggressive. I would sing more and think of wider, broader sound.
So 지금 공격적인 그 히로가 아니라 조금 더 좀 노래하면서 조금 더 비브라토도 와이드하게 하고 하면서 좀 넓게 노래하면서 갔으면 좋겠다고. 좀 넓고 깊고.
Great. Let's try to focus on these things, and so we don't waste time playing more. Okay. Great. Can you play the first note and go wa instead of instead of shooting a cannon? Just it's like opening a big faucet. You know, this instead of.
액센트 하지 말고 범 바로 범 이 소리 아니야. 빠 이게 아니라 범 처음부터.
Sorry, this instead of
액센트 없이.
yeah, as smooth as you can the beginning.
그래서
와.
지금 와 하고 가는데 와 이렇게 가고 있거든요. 와 그리고 화를 시작을 줄에서 하세요. 줄에서 뛰지 말고 그러면 좀.
And sing more. Yeah, but sing you don't want to be, you don't want to do that either. But what I would try to avoid is the typical the accent at the beginning. Yeah.
그러니까 액센트 하지 말라고.
Great, very good. Let's keep going and the rhythm. 리듬. Don't they have accents? The D and the E flat
Yeah.
and the D.
액센트가 있어. E 플랫 D. 레 거기 액센트 하라고 선생님이.
아,
You have 2, 4, what is it? Like 6 accents. That's it. Yeah, you have the and the those quarters.
그러니까 A 플랫 G 플랫.
So there you can do the a stronger attack instead of the so that would be the difference that you want to show or you want to make. Yeah, great. Can we Beautiful. Now, it's very important that you sing the shifts. Yeah, no. Great. Perfect. And now, think you know you don't have the downbeat there. Yeah. It's no. You're missing a. Yeah. So you really need to feel that pulse. Go to that downbeat even though you're not playing it.
그러니까 D가 지금 이 슬러로 연결돼 있잖아요. 그래서 레를 안 하겠지만 선생님이 그 첫 박자 정박을 느끼라고 1, 2, 3, 4마 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5마디 그 D. 그래서 그 정박을 속으로 느끼고 세고 가라고.
Great. Let's keep going. Great, very good. Now the 16ths are dragging a little bit. Think ti ta ta tam. Yeah, more in tempo.
16분음표가 좀 느려진다고. 솔파미솔.
Yeah. The first one is slurred to is tied to the long note, isn't it?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
So 어디부터 하냐면 그 전 솔파미솔, 솔샵부터 하지 말고 솔, maybe 그 C 플랫부터 한번 해볼래? C, 라, 솔.
Okay, I couldn't hear very well, but let's keep going so we don't run out of time.
Okay.
Great. Now, I'm not hearing the crescendo. Um,
거기
네.
크레센도 디미니인데 이렇게.
Great, very good. Great. Two more things before we end. The fortissimo. The first time is forte. This time is fortissimo. The orchestra is much thicker here. And I don't know if you really be able to play louder than the beginning, because you are trying to play very loud at the beginning, very broad. But somehow you have to play it in a way that you think it's going to be louder. Yeah, you could widen the vibrato or do something in the sound that has a slight different character. Yeah, so from the other side, I can hear that it's not the same as the beginning. That you know that it's not the same. Do you understand that?
지금 두 번째는 다이내믹이 어때요? 더 크죠? 다른 거 선생님 말씀하셨고 그 다른 거를 비브라토를 넓게 하던지 어떻게든 그 방법을 찾아야 된다고. 그래서 더 그거 얘기하죠.
And then the last thing is that when you have the I love the fingering that you are doing. Usually we hear that, and I don't really like the slide. I like better without the slide, but the pianissimo is too loud. So sing as much as you can and nothing here. Nothing, and then
피아니스트가 지금 너무 크다.
And then the trills that you have, I like the way you are doing it, but I don't know if you know that you are making it shorter than what it's written. Yeah. So I like a little shorter so it doesn't bother the rest of the orchestra, but just make sure you know you are doing something different from what it is in the music. Okay? Great. Great job. It sounds great. Do you have any questions?
No, I understand everything.
Okay, great. I'm glad. Bravo.
Thank you.
Thank you.
바이바이.
Bye.
아니, 나 여기 있는데 뭐 필요해요?
선생님 저 그 연습실 때문에 나가야 되는.
Okay, I will tell. So, Dr. Diego, she say she's renting a practice room, so she needs to go out. So
Okay.
excuse for this situation.
No problem.
Excuse me.
No problem.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, Christen.
Hi,
How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Fine, thank you. Thank you. So, what do we have for today?
I have Daphnis and Chloe, both sections, the slow and the fast. And I submitted videos, so I
Yes.
think. Okay.
Caroline should be able to share them. Maybe we can
Okay.
start with the slow one and work on that, and then take a look at the fast one.
Okay, that sounds great.
Good. Great, very nice job. It's a beautiful piece. Have you ever played it in the orchestra?
I have,
Yeah.
one time.
Great. Do you know what's the character that you want to give to this beginning?
Yeah, I kind of think of it as like a sunrise. So in the beginning, it's
Awesome.
like very still and it keeps like
Yeah.
building and
Great.
blossoming.
I totally agree. I think even that's the the program in the music. It's written as a ballet, and it has notes from Ravel on some of the numbers, and I think a few numbers back before 150 something there is the sunrise. So it's great that you have the right idea, but I'm not hearing it. I'm not
Okay.
hearing the bright or the very long line. I would love to hear that. What I hear from what you are playing, it's more like a flat with not a lot of direction, and maybe there could be some excitement, like very slow, but some excitement in the sound. Yeah. Can you try it, the beginning?
Yeah, sure.
Great. Christen? Great. Very good, but I wouldn't. Maybe it's too much excitement for the beginning. Yeah, what I mean is that maybe like a little sparkle that it's alive, it's just more alive at the beginning, and leave the excitement for later. But what I didn't feel was the spark at the beginning. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Can you just try just the beginning, the very few first notes? Great, great. And can you keep going on the keep going and not stop the without stopping the sound? And
Okay.
maybe what will help to achieve this idea of the sunrise and the long, the having a target farther away is if you keep the sound very connected, a steady vibrato, continuous, and with the changes of strings, maybe a rounder change rather than an angular going from this to this.
Yeah.
Yeah, just so you can connect it a little more. Great, Christen. I love that, but that I didn't love. Can you try it
Okay.
again? And Christen, I'm sorry, we are stopping so much, but the there your vibrato is getting more tighter. Is there any way that you can control it and think of the slow, the farther away target instead of already getting more intense? Right. Christen, can we take a few minutes to, maybe this will be more helpful than what I can help you with this exercise, since I'm not a violist, but I see that this it's still not connected. I hear a click between the which might be from your left hand, the bow. When you have something like this, but first of all, do you hear it?
Yeah, I can hear it.
Okay, so if you hear it, that's great. It's the first step. Otherwise, you won't know what to work on. But if you do hear it, I would stop and work on those two notes instead of keeping going or starting from the just and try to maybe go back and forth in a loop. Try to add the vibrato. See what's creating that click, and then try to get rid of it. That way, for excerpts, I find that, I mean, for everything really, but I think for excerpts, it's very frustrating, because you end up playing the excerpt a few times and it never gets better, and you still have the same things. You start to not listen to those flaws anymore because you get used to it. So I would just work on the two notes that are creating the problem, and then you put it in context with a few notes before, a few notes after, you play the phrase, and you keep going. But you know exactly what you have to do for the beginning, when you do that. Now you resolved it. Maybe you won't do it every time, but you know what to do to fix it. And then it's a matter of repeating it so you can fix that idea of what you are doing. I think that way you would be less frustrating, and it would get much better. Do you want to keep going?
Sure, yeah.
Bravo. Christen? Here, yes, I feel that it needs more, a little more light. It's not all the. Yeah. Can you try from there?
Yeah.
Christen. You're doing vibrato, no vibrato, and it can be heard. Maybe if you really cannot vibrate the fourth finger, consider doing something to a previous and the following note, so it doesn't stick out so much. Yeah.
Okay.
So ideally, yeah, keep the vibrato there. But if it doesn't work, I would adjust the adjacent notes. Yeah, great.
Okay.
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 And can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
What are you doing, or what did you do different in the sound to have more these instead of those?
Yeah. I was trying to use more bow.
Okay.
Yeah.
And does it have more core or less core than the beginning?
More.
More. So,
Yeah.
in a way, I'm not sure. I would use more bow and lighter bow for the beginning because I want to. I'm talking like if it was a, if I were playing the excerpt, I've never played it obviously, but I would try. I would aim for this sound, like with no core, more ringing, and here a little more compact. So I'm not sure I would do the more bow for the second time.
Okay.
But I think you should, when you practice, you should ask yourself all these questions and make sure you have you know what you're doing. So it's not, something concrete. You know, you have the right idea. You know the sunrise. You know that you don't want the clicks in the changes and all that, but it's not. None of that is something concrete that you are doing to prevent that or to get that. And I think it would be a good exercise to ask yourself the question, get the answer, and know it. So you know that in a moment of stress, like an audition, you know exactly what you have to do, and you don't rely only on the feeling. Yeah. So you know that maybe you have to have use less bow, a tighter vibrato, whatever you find that works for you. But to have something more concrete to hang on to. Yeah. Do you want to keep going?
Yeah, sure. Do you want me to play from the beginning of that phrase?
No.
Or just...
Well, if you want, yeah.
Okay.
Kristen, it's really nice, very nice. Caroline asks me to tell you to come closer to the mic if you can.
Oh, okay.
If possible. That was very nice, Kristen. When you go to the high notes, I know it's not the melody, and it's great that you know it and you are backing off, but the quality of the sound is not very healthy.
Okay.
You are playing. I don't know what is the high note.
F sharp.
F sharp. This one or
You mean the held one or the
yes?
the shift? It's
Yeah, that
F
one.
sharp, C sharp.
C sharp. So this, I see your bow is very close to the fingerboard and actually is traveling a little bit like this.
Okay.
So if you could make a piano here and give room to the violins, or I think the violins are playing the melody, but you would play a much healthier sound that would help the violins play the melody with instead of the. Yeah, can you play from there that scale, the chromatic?
The scale. Okay.
Good, great. Do you wanna keep going?
Yeah.
And Christen, is there any way that you can connect more the fifths? That was better. That was better.
Okay.
Those little details make a huge difference. And also you start hearing things and caring for things that normally you would say, oh, it's just a little hiss or just a little thing here. And one on top of the other would make the difference between a great excerpt or a good excerpt. And in the end, that's what's gonna make the difference. Yeah. Great. Do you wanna go to the
Sure.
Yeah. Great, very good, great. I assume you practice this with the metronome?
Yeah.
Yes. Are you still with the metronome when you finish the passage?
No, that's like exactly where I usually get off with all the double
Okay.
notes.
Right. It's really hard. Yeah. Are you subdividing on the note before, the long note before? I think it's a bing bang bing bang beep beep. If you subdivide and you start thinking in eighth notes, I think it would help a lot.
Okay.
So normally when you practice it, you get off, and what do you do?
I just do it again. I repeat it and then try to get with it.
Yeah. Does it
Yeah.
work?
Yeah, after a couple tries, I get with the metronome, but then say I play it cold. It's like the first time through each time I get off, and then I repeat it and I get with it. But always that first time, I'm not
Yeah.
with it.
And do you practice it slowly with the metronome?
I don't do much. I haven't done that since it's already slow. Yeah, I haven't really done that.
But yeah, the pulse is very slow. You're right, but you have 30-second notes.
Yeah.
So in the end, it's the feeling. It certainly changes the character. You know, it's more anxious, but in this case, it's getting too anxious. So you're rushing through the rests. Maybe if you did it slowly, as I was telling Sieun, if you do it really slowly with the metronome, and if you need to, you can subdivide even more. But to understand exactly where the notes go and what you are doing. Also, right now you are making an accent on the lower notes, da-di-da-di-da-di, da-di-da-di-da-di, and it's throwing off the, you know, like if you think da-di-da-di-da-di, da-di-da-di-da-di, because now it's sounding like ta ti 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 ta ti. Yeah.
Okay.
So if you lay off a little bit on the bottom note and go to the top, and even in the middle of the 6 notes. Yeah, just slowly, just to understand what you need to do.
Yeah.
Same thing before the takatakatam. Yeah, just make sure that you wait and you know that you are going to the middle of the beat. Takatakatam, ta ti ta ti ta. Yeah, and I would even practice it without the doubling, just to make sure that the rhythm is there. Because everybody's that place is really hard to play in the orchestra. I'm sure you it happened when you played it too. So you're aiming for steadiness, yeah, and really in the end, for an audition, what the jury wants is to know that you can play it steady and you can that you are flexible, that you have the control enough of your instrument to be able to go faster or slower or steady or because if not, it would be a problem for the section. If you are pushing the whole section, that it could all fall apart. So really, that's what you have to have in mind. Yeah, great. Does it end there? The excerpt, it keeps going. Yeah, it has a melody.
Yeah, there's
the change
another
of,
line or
right,
so.
right. I thought that was pretty good. I would try to keep the tempo. Again, for an audition, I know that when we play in orchestra, the conductor many times is in another world and maybe changes the tempo. But for an audition, I would maybe, if you want to slow down a little bit on at the end of the doubled notes, you know, that's always how it is. Maybe not too much because I don't think it's written, but then try to practice it with a metronome so you are steady and you know that you can do it steady. And then if maybe in an audition, let's say that you are at the finals and the conductor comes and conducts you, that you know that you can follow somebody and that it's not a rock that you cannot do anything, you know.
Yeah.
Both extremes would be as bad, I guess. Okay, great. Do you wanna do the other excerpt?
Yeah, sure.
Karen? Great, good job. I can only imagine how hard that is because we have like a third of that passage and it's already very hard. It's very good. So in this one, what do you think that, you know, just thinking of an audition, the orchestra is asking you to play an excerpt, any excerpt, for a reason, right? They are looking for something in particular in each excerpt, or they should at least. So what do you think they are looking for here?
Here, I think rhythm and also the bow stroke.
Right. And maybe coordination between the two hands. I feel that neither of the three are really there yet, But
Yeah.
what do you do when you have something like this? How do you make it better? How do you practice it?
Yeah, what I have been doing is just slowing it way down and trying to get the details much slower.
Okay, with the metronome.
Yeah.
Good, good. Um, and how do you deal with the stroke? What stroke are you playing when you play it slowly?
That's tricky because when it's slower, it's hard to get the bow to come off the string.
Right.
So it's almost like I can't practice the bow stroke at the slower tempo.
Well, can you try to find what would make it? What motion you have to play slowly to have the result later faster? Have you tried to find maybe something that is maybe not off the string but with a hard attack of the note?
Oh, okay.
Maybe more compact. Uh, Maybe at some point you can practice it off the string, but I'm not sure that. I think the more on the string with a hard attack would have the result of a very precise stroke later on faster than if you play it like this off the string slowly.
Yeah.
And for coordination, what do you do?
Um, I guess that's not something I really isolate specifically.
Do you notice that when you have the chromatic changes, sometimes it's uncoordinated?
Yeah, I hear it in the sound. Sometimes it gets a
Okay,
bit fuzzy. Yeah.
good. Um, you know what? I mean, even though this whole situation with the virtual teaching and all that, it's not ideal, but there are some things that that we could take advantage of, and one of them I think is that we are videotaping us a lot more than before. And for example, with the video you just showed, maybe you can play at a slower speed and make sure that you hear every note, or you can see where you get off the metronome, or where are the two or three notes that get confused or like maybe slurred and they are not precisely played. Sorry. So maybe you can focus on that and take advantage of this, and really work on the notes that are not sounding the best. Yeah,
Yeah.
probably those repeated notes are okay, but so maybe it's worthless playing them when you practice, and instead you can go straight to those chromatic scales or those sequences, or coming off the bow. It's a B.
Right.
Coming off here in time, maybe thinking of tatitam instead of tim pa pi pa pa pa. That's probably gonna be late if you think of that tim pa pi pa pa pam. But if you think of going to the pa pa pam tim pa pi pa 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 pim, maybe that helps you not lose the momentum. Yeah, but
Mm-hmm.
I would suggest that you find like little recipes that work for you to make better each aspect of the excerpt that you're having trouble with, instead of doing all at the same time, just playing faster and playing it faster. uh,
Yeah.
yeah, maybe isolate more the notes and the aspects that are not working. uh, so I think that would make it much better. Yeah?
Okay.
Great. Christen, I think we don't have enough time to continue. Do you have any questions?
Um, I don't think so. Thank you so
Okay.
much.
No, thank you. It sounds great. Congrats.
Thank you.
Hi, Anna.
Hi.
So, you are gonna play Brahms' Second Symphony and Beethoven 5, the
Yes.
second movement. Great, great. Great. It sounds beautiful. Good job. It's really, really well played. There are two things that I maybe would try. One is that it feels a little like if you were sitting forward, going forward. It doesn't. I don't think it's too fast in metronome marking, but I feel that it's too forward. So I would like play it a little more sitting back and more calm, mostly at the beginning. And maybe the vibrato could be a little wider there. The poco forte, think of a generous, maybe just a more generous and broader sound. Anna, I know we are used to speaking Spanish to each other every week, but if there is something you don't understand, just let me know, okay?
Okay.
Great. So can you try the beginning and maybe wider? I think, Anna, the F. Let's just try to find the right sound here. I think the F could be more generous. I still don't hear. Great, and then no. Great, great. Maybe you can work on that, just focusing on the F, yeah, and just looking for the right vibrato and the sound that you want for the excerpt. It's something that I think it's a good idea to write on the excerpt the music that you have in front, every excerpt, to put a metronome marking and the character that you want. It could be 2 words, whatever that works for you to take you to that place. Because when you are preparing maybe 15 excerpts at the same time, when you practice, it's really hard to go from one to the other very quickly and effectively. So when you're at the audition, you don't have the chance, maybe you play a concerto and it's not ideal, but it happens that you maybe play a whole concerto and you're happy in the end, and you say, well, after the first page, I was able to really get into it and enjoy it. With the excerpts, you don't have that choice. So maybe it's a good idea to write down something on each excerpt that is key for this. So maybe vibrato, the broad, the poco forte sound, maybe not force it, but generous. A word that takes you there, so you can immediately get it. And maybe you have to spend more time just playing the first note or the first two notes to get that. Yeah. Now, going forward, when you finish, maybe breathe. There is something that changes. I don't think there is a change of dynamic, is it? No. But there is something that changes. At least you finish you end the phrase. So maybe breathe and I feel it more relaxed than the. Do you want to take from there? Same thing, great, but same thing here. Yeah. And if you connect it all together, then I don't hear the structure of the excerpt. Great. Great, very good. Keep going. Okay, great. Can you? It's really nice, but I almost hear a new note. Could that be more subtle? It's okay if you do, or but a little more subtle, not so. Yeah. Great. And now without the portato. Great, and really go to the E. Yeah, there. Very nice. Great. Great. The next part was okay. Can we go for the? You do here. When you do that, is there any way to connect better the fifths? Great, very good, great. And if you could add a little more tension going. Great, very nice. Just make sure that the intonation that is a little. It was a little too high, but it's great. It's very nice played. Great. Do you want to go to the Beethoven? Great, it's terrific, Anna. It's really good. I love the fingering you are doing on the. It's great. For me, the sound is a. First of all, the beginning, try to do the opposite. Think, yeah, it's like entering the dance floor. Going to the C and this, more this instead of, yeah. Same thing on the. Try to avoid those hits with the left hand that would probably disturb a little bit the section. But the most important, I think, is the direction from this to this. Yeah. Now. For me it's too loud. For me it has too much core in the sound. But I remember I once listened to a friend of mine, a violist that was auditioning for an orchestra here in the States, and she played it with that kind of sound that you just played. And I mentioned the same thing I'm telling you. For me, it's too loud. I would play more with a little less core. And her answer was, I know, me too, but I played for the principal of the orchestra and he asked me to play with more core. So I guess the only lesson we can learn from that is that you cannot be always 100% sure that you are playing it the way they want it, and probably you shouldn't try to play it the way they want it. But yes, you should play it the best way you can play it and be able to modify that on the spot. So in other words, playing great would get you to maybe to the finals, and you would be in a situation where the principal player would realize that you're a great cellist and he would ask you to play with a different sound, and the key would be that you are able to do it. So practice it one way, play it very convincingly that for you that's the way you want to play it and that's the way it is, but also try to practice it at this stage when you have already resolved most of the problems. Try to play it in different tempos, with different sounds, with different ideas, so when the moment comes, if it comes, that somebody asks you to play it differently, you can do it. And really, when you are in the orchestra, that happens every day, because you have a different conductor and he will ask you to this or that, and probably when the orchestra hires you, that's what they want you to be able to do. Yeah. the maybe the first variation could be a little more legato in the upper half of the bow. Do you want to play it once? Anna? Great, but can you play with more direction? Think farther away. Great. Very good, very good. The vibrato you are getting, it's great. Yeah, you are using a very small vibrato for the fast notes, but sometimes it disturbs the bow. So if you can keep the bow more steady, that would be great. And also maybe before if you think of the forte as just maybe the word I was telling you before, generous. Instead of thinking forte and loud, just open and generous. Maybe that would help you not get a tight sound, and it will also help if you think of a little diminuendo before on the yeah. So we don't get a crescendo, which is probably what somebody would look for. Great. I mentioned to avoid that. Great. Then in the second variation, maybe the intonation is not there quite yet. How do you work intonation?
With the
With yeah.
and sometimes
With
play
chords?
double, yes.
Double stops. Okay.
Yes.
And so and you would find you look for the fourths, the octaves, the fifths, the perfect intervals.
Yes.
Yeah. Good. Tuner, electronic tuner. Do you? Yeah. Okay. And maybe a pedal note. A pedal, una nota pedal. Pedal note.
Yes, I don't do that. This
Here,
time.
okay. Maybe it's not a bad idea. The double stops are great for the structure of the hand, but maybe if you had a pedal note, you could really center every note. So, I mean, the electronic tuner, I like it very much, and I work with that a lot, and it brings you very close to being great. It's really very close, but maybe you can use that to make it steady and control the intonation, and then play with a pedal note to finish fine tuning the intonation. And going back to the first the theme, maybe you could sing a little more the small notes, the 30 seconds. See? Do you want to play the theme once more before we finish? Okay, Anna, no, yeah, it sticks out. It's not I'm not asking you to vibrate every note just for the sake of vibrating every note. It's just that if you vibrate this and this, then it's like here, here, and here. So if you find something to make it like this, it would be okay. Otherwise, just vibrate a little more. Yeah, great. Anna, it sounds great. It's really good. I don't know if Caroline, if there are some questions or anything, or if Anna, if you have some questions.
Thank you.
Congrats, good job.
So I just put an announcement in the chat for people to submit questions in the Q&A window. Anything you would like to ask Diego about audition prep, auditioning for a professional orchestra. While people brainstorm, I have a question for you that I would love to pose. I know each audition list is super unique and different, but a lot of times, especially if you're auditioning for your conservatory orchestra, you might be asked to play a concerto, but they don't tell you which concerto. So I'm wondering what makes a concerto a good pick for an orchestra audition setting?
Huh. I think it would be just the best, the concerto that you can play the best. That's what I would prioritize. Because in the end, when you are listening to somebody play, you might think, oh, but that's a very hard piece, or but that's an easy piece. But if it sounds great and convincing, it doesn't really matter. So I would choose the concerto only thinking of how good you sound with that piece, instead of aiming for playing the Dvorak or Prokofiev or whatever piece you might think that is really hard and it's good because you are playing that piece, and just that, not thinking of how well you sound playing that, or maybe playing, I don't know, C major, Haydn. And
So it sounds like quality over what you think might be more impressive.
yes, definitely. Yeah.
And I was also curious about expressive slides and excerpts for big shifts, because I know in the past when I've taken excerpt class, you want to sound expressive, but at the same time, if not everyone does a similar shift, it's an intonation issue. So just thoughts on that for, I know the Brahms we just heard from Anna has some expressive shifts where you could slide. So just any thoughts on that?
I think the best way to, I think what you have to do is put yourself, take some perspective, and think that you are playing with, I don't know, 10 other cellists. And this goes, I think, for intonation, for rhythm, for everything. If you do something that could bother the section as a whole, you probably should not do it. So the slides, for example, some of them, I don't know, the Brahms going to the D, that's always there, and it's an expressive slide, and maybe the only one that is, really a slide. For this, what we were working with Anna, some people do shift, some people stretch. I don't think it's that important, but if we have a distinctive slide or a shift like Anna was doing, that would probably take my attention, and it would stick out, and you don't want to stick out. You want the whole section to sound, together. So it's the same thing, I think, that you look for with rhythm and intonation. If you are rushing, even a little bit, you could maybe make the whole section fall apart. And same thing with intonation. Something like the Debussy that Sieun was playing. You don't play exactly in tune, and the whole cello quartet that you are waiting for since the beginning of the piece, then it doesn't sound good. So I think you have to think of it as a section. And
Excellent. We actually have a question from Christen, who played the viola excerpts today. And I think it's a beautiful question, Christen. What is the average amount of time to prepare for a professional audition? So kind of your preparation timeline, if you will.
I think that's very personal. I can only tell you my experience. I'm sure there are people who practice much less than what I did and get much better jobs, or maybe people who practice 10 times what I did and don't ever get a job. But for me, once I have the most of the excerpts and the concertos ready, that I don't have a lot of I'm gonna tell you the experience once I worked on all the excerpts and I kind of resolved the difficulties of each excerpt, and that takes me about 2 months. Usually it's 2 months that I'm in audition mode, which means, I don't know, for me, practicing an average of 4 hours a day, with a lot of detail and slow practicing and building up. In my experience and what I've seen in some situations, it's very easy to, if you start way before, it's very easy to reach the peak before the audition, and then you get burnt out, which is not good. So I think every person should try and see what works for them, and kind of know for each of them what works best. I don't think there is a number. It's like a general practice time for every person is different. I don't know if that answers her question.
No, I think that was, she says thank you. So I think that was a beautiful answer. One thing I think would be so fascinating for our students, do you have any favorite audition stories? You're laughing. That's a yes. Well, I mean, it doesn't have to be anything too personal, but just anything about how unpredictable they might be, or anything you'd like to share about the real life audition scene.
Not really. What I find very typical for me, that I see and I keep seeing with every friend or student that takes audition, is, and I cannot, it amazes me that whenever I go to an audition, and again this happens to most of the people I know, you get to the audition and suddenly everybody plays better than you, and you feel that that person's sound is huge and it's beautiful, and that vibrato and the tempo that this person is taking for that excerpt, and you are wowed with how well everybody else plays. And then you see the person that is very chill and not just maybe smoking or having a coke and not even playing the cello, and the other person that is playing the Shostakovich concerto that is not even in the list. And that situation of the day of the audition, it always strikes me very much, because it keeps happening, and I keep hearing the same stories and the same feelings from the people I know. So for me, I have like I think in advance what I'm gonna try to do, and I tell my students to do the same. Maybe try to avoid doing socials. Start talking with people right before going to play, and without being rude. Maybe saying, I would like to catch up, but let's have a coffee after we play. Something that you are not thinking of something else completely. You've prepared for 2 months and really years for those 5 minutes, and you don't want to screw that up just because you saw somebody that you hadn't seen in years or something like that. And then something that I've done is wearing earplugs sometimes. In some situations where I know that maybe where you are is very boomy, or that you won't have individual practice rooms right before going and playing, maybe I put earplugs, and even I played with earplugs or a practice mute, because I don't want in the audition, what I'm aiming for is doing what I've been doing at home in the practice room. It's not that I try to do something different, that I practice for 2 months and then I say I'm gonna play my heart out at the audition. What I do is try to play my heart out for 2 months at home together with everything else that I prepare, and then go to the audition and try to replicate exactly the same as the best I can from what I did at home. So for me, if I play in a boomy space, maybe I suddenly feel different, and then I go to the audition hall and it sounds different and it throws me off. So I try to not trust or not play with the how do you call it, the way it sounds, the whole. So my goal is to replicate what I practiced. But no, stories, it's mostly that, going there and how the mind can play so many tricks on you. So
I think I love what you said. Play your heart out at home. It's absolutely beautiful, a beautiful idea. And yes, what you shared was absolutely wonderful. We have a question from one of our students, a guitarist in our guitar program. Thatcher says, "Thank you for the brilliant class. I should preface my question by admitting I am not knowledgeable about orchestral work at all. As a soloist, when I attend guitar master classes, teachers will tell the students to not let the details in the score get in the way of the larger scope of personal expression. It makes sense orchestral musicians would focus on the small details. So what they're asking is, has the shift in focus from the big scope, the big picture, to a small scope have a negative effect on orchestras, as they might be populated with musicians who are trained to focus on the smaller details, maybe at the expense of emotional power? Again, please forgive me, I am not experienced with orchestra procedures." Wow, thank you, Thatcher. Such a deep question.
yeah, that's a great
Wow.
question. Such
Bravo.
a long question. I hope I can answer it. No, I think he's totally right. What maybe is not clear, probably I didn't clarify this, but the details, it's not that the goal is to play every detail. That's just a means to play a product, a piece of art that is beautiful, and like he's saying, to look at the score, the broad, have some perspective. That's necessary. But the problem is that when you have intonation problems and you're playing, I don't know, let's say that you're playing the Brahms passage totally out of tune, or with a lot of portato, or that's gonna make the end product. I'm sorry, I'm calling it product, and I shouldn't because it's art, but just to be concrete, it's gonna make the product not sound good. So, of course, the main goal should remain the artistic, to play as musically as you can, to make it beautiful. Yeah, but for me, I have that idea always in the back of my head, thinking that it has to be beautiful. But in order to achieve that, there are a lot of things concrete things, technical things that I have to take care of and control to be able to do that. And in the end, when maybe the main difference between the concerto and the excerpts is that the concerto, you have some room to change things and adjust them to the way you like it best, and to the way that sounds best. Yeah, so maybe something you have to take a little time here and there. Maybe it's okay, it's totally fine, and you can make it beautiful and expressive, and you can have an amazing product. But with the excerpts, since you are playing with 10 other people within 100 people orchestra, you don't have that room. You have some room, but it's much smaller. So you have to make music and make some beautiful sound and a beautiful product within a small box. And for me, that's the difference, the way I see it. But I never think of the goal being technical perfection. Never. It's sometimes it's a necessity, but not the perfection, because it doesn't exist. But control of the technical aspects, it's something that you need to achieve a bigger goal that I think is what he's talking about. Is that, yeah?
Yeah, like how all the parts contribute to the whole.
Yeah.
And Thatcher said that makes much sense. Thank you very much.
Right.
Great. We don't have any more questions, so I wanted to see if you had any final closing words for our students and audience. Anything further you'd like to share?
But no, just the students that played today were all great. It sounds great, and it's good to see young students working on excerpts and preparing them. It's always a lot of fun. But no, it was great to be here. I'm glad that this happened.
Fantastic, and thank you so much, Diego Fainguersch, principal cellist of the Buenos Aires Philharmonic. Thank you so much for blessing us with your advice, working with the students, and again, bravi to Sieun, Baek, Verena Díaz, and Christen Hooks for all of your performances. And thank you all for watching and contributing your questions and being proactive in our class today. We do have another event this evening. We have a vocalist masterclass with our vocal faculty, Danielle Talamantes and Carrie Wilkerson. And you can check all of those events out on the Close Encounters with Music website. So I'm going to put the calendar in the chat where you guys can sign up for all of our events. And you must pre-register to attend the talks, but it's just a name and an email. So it's very simple. and on to more musical adventures at High Peaks. And thank you all so much. Have a beautiful day.
Amen.